everyone, I am here today to do a bookish Q&A because it is a whole year since I uploaded my very first video to YouTube. I asked you lovely people for lovely questions and you did send me lovely questions. I had so many lovely questions in fact that I am going to have to split this into I think 3 parts. I've split it up into 3 categories. One is bookish stuff, one is design stuff, and there's a bit of overlap in there as well, and the third one is other stuff, which is more to do with me moving to London and those kinds of things. So this is the bookish part of the Q&A. Let's get on with the questions. First of all, I've had quite a few people ask about the cushions behind me, both on Instagram and on YouTube. They are my own design and I got them done on Society6, which is a great website where you can upload your artwork, and there's artwork from people all over the world and there's so much stuff on there. I mean, it's an amazing thing, but basically it's this print here. This is what the original looks like, and I've had it turned into these cushions behind me, and also I've had it made into a tote bag. While we're here, I also got a couple of other designs done up as well. There is another cushion cover here. I don't have enough cushion stuffings to put them all in. And there's also this one here, which is another one of my designs. I showed this design in one of my videos recently, I think. My sketchbook one, maybe. Yep, so that's how it came up. Oh, it was a nice cushion, and it's also in a mug. So, this is all my Christmas presents sorted now. A little bit of shameless self-promotion there, but people did ask about the cushions, so I feel justified. On to the questions. I have my laptop here and I will be reading the questions from said laptop. So the first one is from Virginia Castiglione, I think. I'm sorry if I ruined your name. So the question is, what type of bookish food or beverage would you like to try? So my initial answer to this was butterbeer, of course. Butterbeer from Harry Potter, but I went to the Warner Brothers studio and had butterbeer and it was not at all how I imagined it in my head. My first answer would be the butterbeer that actually exists in my head, and the second answer is Turkish Delight from The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, because I love Turkish Delight. I know it's supposed to be a symbol for sin and everything, but it sounds amazing and I have such a sweet tooth. Dominica Varga asks, what are the must-read classic books in your opinion? I would say the Bronte sisters, including Anne. Please include Anne. Morris by Ian Forster, it's sort of a slightly more modern classic. Virginia Woolf's To the Lighthouse and Mrs. Dalloway. I would also say that Brideshead Revisited is definitely a must-read classic. I love this book so much. And also Christopher Isherwood, this is much more of a modern classic. A Single Man. I would also recommend Goodbye to Berlin as a good place to start with his work. He just writes so beautifully. This is a real classic of LGBT literature, as is Morris, as is Brideshead in many ways. Yep, so those are my picks, but I might do a full video on that. It's quite a good topic. Okay, so Alex asks, if you could spend a day living inside the story of any book, which would it be and why? You don't have to choose a main character or main plot point either. For example, spending the day with Luna dancing around the castle whilst all around her is chaos. That does sound quite amazing, just dancing around the castle with Luna. I could just hang out in the room of requirement all day. That would be quite a neat place to be, I think. My other idea was hanging out with the witches in his Dark Materials, because I think they're so fascinating, and they're a community of women who fly. Hanging out with Serafina Pekkala in the far north sounds like a rather good time. The Leaning Bookshelf asks, I was wondering where you would recommend to start with New Zealand fiction. Any particular authors or books? I've actually done a full video on New Zealand literature and my recommendations, but in short, I would say my top 2 would be Catherine Mansfield, of course, and Eleanor Catton. If you're intimidated by the sheer size of the luminaries, then I'd definitely recommend The Rehearsal by her. It's a great novel, very different from the luminaries, but also very beautifully written. JCS 3894 asks, if you could travel to any book setting, be it real world or a fantasy place, where would it be? I'd personally go to Wonderland. I think that's quite a good pick. Wonderland sounds like a very interesting place, but I don't think that I would personally want to go there just because it's so chaotic, and I like order and to know where I stand in the world. For this reason, I would go to Lyra's world in his Dark Materials. It sounds like a really fascinating place, and I think I would like to go to Lyra's Oxford, and I would like to be a lady scholar there, and I would like to do a study of the history and culture of the witches. That is my thesis. AJ Boff asks, do you have a collection of bookmarks or do you just grab whatever comes to hand? I do have a collection of bookmarks. I will show you some of them. First of all, I have Page and Blackmore Booksellers bookmark. This is the bookshop where I worked in my hometown in New Zealand, and I love these for nostalgic reasons. Then we also have my bookmarks, which are kind of designed to be like business cards, but I don't tend to give them out. I tend to just use them. So we have this one here, which is just my little logo there and some books and my name and what I do at the top. And then this one, which I actually prefer, which is the design that you'll probably see at the end of all of my videos. And yeah, then my name. Hooray, hurrah. Another of my favourites that I brought with me is Kazuo Ishiguro's The Berry Giant. We had these at the bookshop when the book came out, so I love the design. The whole aesthetic of this book is great. And also the little quote, there's a journey we must go on and no more delay. Somehow though, even though I have all these bookmarks, I still manage to end up using train tickets to mark my page, because I will look in my bag and I'll have bookmarks in there, but they will be marking the pages of other books that are in my bag. So if I have a new book, then I have to find a new bookmark, and that often ends up being a train ticket. Literary Diversions asks, what is your favourite closing passage / last line? That will be fun for you trying to find something non-spoilery. And this one was actually quite easy. It's from Cloud Atlas by David Mitchell, and it is, what is an ocean but a multitude of drops? I just think that that sums up the whole book so very well, because it's really about these connections between people across time, across continents. It's an amazing book, and if you haven't read it, then definitely do. And I don't think I've spoiled anything with that final line. Books and Questions, who is a new booktuber, and I recommend that you check out her channel because she's really great and she does these finger puppet Shakespeares. What do you think you've learned being a part of Booktube? And I guess the main thing is just discovering all of these different types of books, all these different tastes that people have. So I watch quite a broad range of booktubers, I think, and so I try and sort of pick up and appropriate stuff from all over the place. And I think it's really important to sort of challenge ourselves and to read a variety of different stuff and to get ourselves into the shoes of people whose perspectives we don't usually see. Seeking the Spheres, who is another booktuber who does great discussion videos and another one you should check out. She asks, since you've read a fair amount of the Bloomsbury group, who is your favourite member of the group and why? So this really depends how you define the Bloomsbury group, because they had kind of this core, and there were only a couple of them who were actually fiction writers, the main ones being Virginia Woolf and Ian Forster. And I mean, out of those two, I do have to pick Virginia Woolf, even though I love Forster. But then sort of on the edge of the Bloomsbury group of sort of people who were friends with people in the group, Catherine Mansfield was one of those. So if you count Catherine Mansfield, then she just trumps everyone. I feel like she is my spirit animal. I feel like our biographies are quite similar in some ways, although my life has not been nearly as exciting as hers. Anglican, mate. It'll come up down here, so you'll be able to see a couple of cues for your Q&A video. Thank you very much. Who is your favourite literary villain, and which famous 5 book is your favourite? The king of literary villains is, of course, Shakespeare. So, I feel like it's a toss-up between Iago, Richard III, and Lady Macbeth. It's a long time since I've read Macbeth, so I might have to discount Lady Macbeth just because I don't feel like I know her well enough. But Richard III and Othello are both plays that I have studied and really enjoyed, and I think they're very fascinating, in-depth characters. I'm going to go with Richard III actually, because I find it very interesting the reasons why Shakespeare wrote him the way that he wrote him, and how that has affected the way that history has viewed him. As a historical figure as well as a character, I find him very interesting. So yeah, I'm going to go with Richard III, but yeah, Iago and Lady Macbeth, also very, very fascinating. As for famous 5 books, I can't remember what the title is. It's one where they go, is it Kirin Island? It might be Kirin Island, but I feel like I'm getting it mixed up with another one. Basically, it's one where they go and there's a lighthouse and they go underneath the lighthouse and there's all this gold. So if anyone can tell me what the title of that book was, I would love to know for certain. And all the ones where they go to the seaside, which is most of them, let's be honest. But just, oh, nostalgia. Sproink Pixie, and I'm sorry if I'm not saying this right, but it's Nikki. Hi Nikki. She's in New Zealand, and she asks, if you could live the life, or indeed be any one character in a book that you have read, I seem compelled to write here, other than Hermione Granger, can't think why. Who would it be and why? Yes, Hermione is my number one choice. But if I'm not allowed to be Hermione, then I would like to be Lyra from His Dark Materials. And this is because she is really courageous. She's always looking for adventure and trying to discover new things. I feel like she's really thirsty for knowledge. And I mean, her story arc is fantastic, and it's great to see her grow and just really become a woman, and that's what the whole trilogy is about, really. I don't feel like I am like her that much, but I would like to be like her. So yes, Lyra from His Dark Materials. Vibeke from One Book Run Review asks, only 1 year? Seems like longer. Is that a good thing or not? What did you enjoy most about your booktubing experience? That makes it sound like I'm about to leave. I'm not about to leave. It's the discussions that go on and the people that are in the discussions. That's basically it. So people like yourself, Vibeke. Cheesy answer, but the truth. Nena from SCS Reads has asked a couple of questions. She's asked 3 questions, in fact. One is not bookish, so I'm going to put that in the other video, but we've got, what's one book that's been on your TBR for years? Perfume by Patrick Suskind. And her other question is, what is one underrated book that you would recommend? A book that I haven't heard talked about a lot on Booktube and that I read this year and absolutely fell in love with was A Place Called Winter by Patrick Gale. It has had a lot of hype outside of Booktube, I think. It's been in the sort of Sunday Times bestsellers and things. It's recently come out in paperback, but Booktube, go and read it. It's so good. The final question in this section of the Q&A is from Lily Calder, Lilypad on YouTube. She asked me on Twitter, if you had to be one of the Secret History characters, who would you be and why? Well, I definitely wouldn't be Carmilla, and I wouldn't be Richard either. I feel like this has to be a process of elimination. So I wouldn't be Charles. It's toss-up between Malcolm and Henry. Henry or Malcolm? Henry or Malcolm? Malcolm has awesome dress sense. He has a really long coat and a scarf. I'm gonna go with Malcolm. Thank you again, everyone, for all of your questions, because they have been so great that I have had to answer most of them. But all the interactions that happen, the likes, the comments, the subscriptions, everything that happens, the Twitter conversations that we have, I mean, it all really motivates me to keep making content. So thank you for that. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I will hopefully see you in my next Q&A video. Bye!